Hey everybody, welcome back to the Pressing Matters. I'm Scott. Thank you for tuning in today, and thank you for your support. Today I'm going to talk about Chet Atkins, and I wanted to cover some of my favorite albums from this interesting artist, very influential guitarist from the late 50s into the early 60s and even beyond. He had a career up until the 80s where he actually had a resurgence in popularity when he did an album with Mark Knopfler. So a very, very fine guitar player and produced some of the best sounding albums in the early 60s for RCA. One of the reasons these albums sound so good is he had the great engineer Bill Porter to work with on most of these. I'll mention when he's involved with the records. I've tried to choose ones where he is, but there are a couple that where he is not noted as the engineer. So I wanted to start with one before the stereo era just because it is so good. It's called Hi-Fi in Focus. This is the modern harmonic reissue. The originals of this are extremely hard to find. It's very rare to find one in good condition. So this is very welcome. It's still available as far as I know. And it was really well done. Pressed at RTI and sounds great. Really nice mono sound. That's recommended. I don't know if Bill Porter engineered that one though. There's no information that I could find on that. The second one was my first Chet Atkins album, and I remember finding the original in a church sale up in upstate New York, and I was like, oh, this is on the TAS list, I have to get this. And that's how it was back then. The Absolute Sound put this one on their Superdisc list. It's a little different from most of his albums in that it has string arrangements rather than bass and drum, but it sounds beautiful. The string arrangements are really well done. They don't overtake the album. He is still the main focus, and he goes through a selection of his favorite tunes. These are not Hollywood themes. It's just recorded in Hollywood. The string arrangements are by Dennis Farnon and his orchestra. Bill Porter is not listed as the engineer on this, and I don't think he is, but this is a really good album. This is the classic reissue from Bernie Grundman. Oh, I got to mention, there is also an alternate version of this album out there. It has a different cover called the Girl cover, and you'll recognize it because it's eye-catching. She is standing on the corner of Hollywood and Vine, a very beautiful girl in a skin-tight gold outfit, and it certainly probably caught a lot of people's attention. That one has different tracks. So Chet was a perfectionist. He liked to toy around with his tracks even after they were published. So this came out in '59. The Girl cover came out in '61, and he wanted to redo all of his guitar parts for the album. So RCA let him. I mean, he was one of the main RCA artists at the time, so he had a little pull for sure. And he did his guitar parts over for that version of the album, so both are recommended. I haven't compared them to see if there's a preference one way or the other. I like the original myself. But next is LSP2103, Mr. Guitar. Chet was known as Mr. Guitar. This is the original cover for this album. There was also a Girl cover for this as well, but I don't think the tracks were redone for that one. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. This is, again, a collection of random tunes. Bill Porter is definitely the engineer on this, and it sounds like it has that really open, wonderful sound of that RCA studio in his engineering style. Very plummy bass, and just a beautiful sound that he got out of that studio. This is perfection. I mean, it really is. This really kind of cemented his reputation, and is considered a classic. It's just beautiful. This is a Speaker's Corner edition. The originals are good, are very recommended. The Girl cover one, I don't know that much about. I have it, but I haven't really done a lot of comparisons about it. This one is my favorite, absolutely. This one, the other Chet Atkins. Look at this cover. It is the first one, it has a theme running through it, so it's kind of a Spanish theme. They've pulled together some Spanish sounding tracks or Spanish favorites. Poinciana, Delicado, Streets of Laredo, Maria Elena, Peanut Vendor. You know, anything that kind of could fall under this category was pulled for this album. And he does it in a different style. This one is got a Spanish guitar type of sound, and it's just beautiful. I have 3 of these. I was very lucky to find 3 copies of this, and the original pressings are great. There's no real audiophile reissue of this. This was also on Harry Pearson's Absolute Sound Superdisc list, so you might have a little trouble finding it, but if you do ever see it, please get this one. You'll love it. It's a beautiful record. Bill Porter did a wonderful job on that. The next one is Workshop. This is one of the rarest, or most expensive anyway, to find an original pressing of. And there is a reissue of it by Modern Harmonic. But in this case, you need to get the original. And the reason is Modern Harmonic must have pulled the wrong tapes for the guitar tracks. The backing tracks are exactly the same. But it's not a case where Chet redid his tracks to make them better and put them out on a later edition. This sounds like, and this was a theory that was posted somewhere where I made a comment about the album. The poster's theory was that Modern Harmonic actually grabbed the demo tracks, that the guitar tracks that Chet would send to the studio, then they would do their backing track to that and send it back for Chet to perfect in his workshop. And this shows him in his workshop at home. He preferred to work that way. He didn't like working in the studio. He liked to take the time to get everything right. So that is the way most of these records were constructed. And the Modern Harmonic reissue, the guitar tracks do sound a bit unfinished and kind of like sketches. So in this case, this is the original. This is recommended. Bill Porter did a great job. This has that sound, that magic sound. You'll notice it as soon as Lambeth Walk starts. Very, very good. Excellent, excellent album. I have a mono of that too. Wonderful record. The last one I'm featuring, but not the last one I'm going to talk about. This was on the Absolute Sound Superdisc list. This is still in the Living Stereo era, LSP 2549. This is a thematic album of island favorites, and it sounds great. He developed a style for this album that kind of lends that island kind of relaxed sound to his guitar playing, and it works really well. The tracks are like Montego Bay, Moon Over Miami, The Enchanted Sea, Temptation, Yellow Bird. You know, you get the idea. But a great thematic album, and I love this too. This was a great find. I've never seen this anywhere, so if you do see it, grab it. The Living Stereo era continued, and these are not lesser albums by any means. It's just I'm going to mention them briefly. This one's called Down Home, still in the Living Stereo era. I think it was 62. Engineered by Bill Porter. Kind of going back to the roots, doing some country stuff, and it comes off beautifully. This is a really, really good sounding album as well. The other one is LSP 2678. It's also in the Living Stereo era. It's called Travelin'. Similar in some ways. This is 1963. No real theme here. All kinds of stuff. La Dolce Vita, Exodus, Bubbles, Bangles, and Beads. You know, it has nothing to do with traveling, but well, maybe Exodus does. But this is a good sounding record. Also, Bill Porter. Then we get into like a little dicey category because this is the beginning of Dynagroove. So RCA's process to make records sound better at lower volumes or on lower quality phonographs. It had some kind of equalization curve that kind of changed the sound, and most audiophiles don't like it. This actually sounds okay though. This is still a Bill Porter engineer engineering job, and this record is designed to appeal to teens from the 60s, like 63, so it has some rockier kind of tracks. I Got a Woman, Walk Right In, Alley Cat, and so forth. So this is still recommended. It's pretty good. Not my first choice. I would go for the earlier albums for sure. And last one I want to mention is this one, because it is a disappointment. This is called Progressive Pickin', and this one is in the Dynagroove era. It's LSP 2908. It's pretty uninspired, and I think one of the reasons is the recording engineer is no longer Bill Porter. It's Chuck Seitz, and not saying anything bad about Chuck Seitz, but even Chet said, once I lost Bill Porter, I lost the sound. And this sounds like going through the motions, kind of. And I think that probably continued for most of the rest of the 60s. I picked up several albums past this point and have never been completely wowed by them. Really, the ones from the period from 1959 to 1962 are my favorites, and he did quite a few. He did like 2 or 3 albums a year sometimes, so he's got like 80 albums in his discography. A lot to explore with Chet Atkins. I hope you enjoyed this overview. Definitely check out the Living Stereo ones though. Those are the best, and I think you'll love the sound on them. Really special. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.